Yes, Eden.
I want you to come here.
No, I'm online now.
Mommy, I need to say something. Look at that child. That child.
Cool. Alright. Well, I think I've got everything streaming. And we can go ahead and get started. Feel free to let me know in the chat if there's anything wrong. This is my first time ever doing this. And if chat isn't working for some reason, let me know on Twitter. And I should be able to see that as well. So, let's get started. Yeah, so there's a couple things that I was looking at working on this morning. One is creating a new GitHub action for creating or renewing certificates through Let's Encrypt. And all the hard work for actually doing that has been done. There's a great tool called Posh Acme. Acme is the protocol that they use for that. And Posh is PowerShell. And I've used this to renew a localhost certificate that I use for development. So this works well. It does depend on some local state for renewing certificates, so it doesn't work like out of the box very well with GitHub Actions. So we could work on that and make essentially a GitHub Action wrapper around this that would maintain that state. Or, and this is what I'm kind of leaning towards, just working on some of the build system for some of my libraries is a little bit out of date. This is my latest library, works on dependency injection. Just enhances the default .NET Core dependency injection. And this one uses a new build system that's all GitHub Action based, and I think really flows a lot better. And so I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and get started, unless anyone wants to object in the chat. If you want to do something else, just let me know. And I'll type out a little. See if that works. Yes, there. Chat is working. Awesome. Okay. Cool, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started here with this one. And what I want to do, actually, I think I actually already have this open. Yes. So with the new build system, it uses GitHub workflows to really just build, test, and then package and publish those NuGet packages. Pretty straightforward for a workflow. And then what I like about it is these directory build files, which essentially create solution-wide settings for all these different things. And one of the things that this library proved out was that this could also be used for meta packages. And this was the first time I had ever done this, where I think this one is a meta package, where this CS proj actually only exists to create a NuGet package. It doesn't actually have any code in it. And so I wrote this little directory build targets that enables some common options that are necessary when building a meta package with a CS proj file. So, and I'm going to need this in some of my other libraries because I do the same thing. I still have a lot of new spec files, and as part of this upgrade, I'm thinking we can probably get rid of all of that. Let me see. There. All right. We can probably get rid of all of the new spec files themselves. Got some spam already. All right. Let's see. So usually when I'm upgrading my packages, my eventual goal here is I want to upgrade the build system for async.ex because that's my main library that a lot of people use, and I've got some changes that I want to get into that, but I want to take care of these build system things first. And usually when I'm upgrading anything to do with the build system, I start with a proof of concept, which this one already is. And then I go to, there's a couple of libraries that I use that are a little simpler than async.ex. They're not as complicated, but they step up that complexity on the way to async.ex in terms of build complexity. And one of those is disposables. I think that's the one I will do next, and then probably comparers after disposables. And these are both simpler packages, or simpler libraries. I don't even know if I have this cloned yet. Let me see. Do I have disposables on here? Pardon the messiness of my disk. It's always a mess. So maybe under the old directory. And here, let's pull that in. Alright, so I want to... Now this is using my old build system, which uses appver. Oh, this is actually using a newer build system also. So yeah, this one is actually, this one's doing .NET commands directly. It's still building on appver, so I think I will go ahead and update this one. One thing that I haven't put in the new build system yet is code coverage. I'm just going to rip that out. So, let's see. I've got a directory build props here that already has a number of common properties. What am I using for GitHub dark mode? Yeah, so that's something that I actually just found, like literally yesterday. It's this stylus is what it's called. So there is a stylus is an extension. Again, I just learned about this yesterday. That enables you to apply styles to any website. Just stick your own CSS in, and it'll just it'll recognize the site based on the host name and automatically stick in your user style sheet essentially. And then someone else invented this GitHub dark one here, which I'm not entirely sure where to even get that. But yeah, I'm sure you can find it on Google. So there's like a stylus setting for GitHub then that enables dark mode. And I just turned this on, like I said yesterday. Not entirely sure how I feel about it yet. It just looks so weird to see GitHub in dark mode. But it works better with my camera. I've got the camera going in here in a cheap green screen setup without proper lighting and everything. So the dark mode does look better, at least for while I'm streaming. And there is a 20-second delay, I believe, from my tests earlier. There's about a 20-second delay between chat and video. So if you don't get your question answered right away, I probably will see it. I'm just a little behind. Alright, so let's see. We've got, oh, I love this. A pre-release version of SourceLink. Yeah, we'll upgrade all this stuff. Actually, I want to probably just copy over the entire directory build props. Sorry if you hear a little girl in the background. I've got a 4-year-old behind the green screen here, and she is chatting away. And it looks like I'm using nested directory build props in this one. Oh, for the version. Yeah, I think I'm going to change how I do this. I really just want one location to do the version. Oh, and that is the other thing. Actually, I should do that first. So in this one, this is my dependency injection project where I'm setting up the new build system. I originally set this up so that you push a version tag in order to actually push out a new version. And while this does have some benefits, like it creates a release on GitHub, I'm thinking that actually what I want to do to actually push out a new version is probably just update the version number in the source. And then anytime that's committed to master, would be, then it would just push a new version. Question, do you find 4-year-olds help with development process? Thinking the 7-year-old is defective. Well, they can certainly be distracting, but boy, they sure are a lot of fun. Yes, you are 4. Yes, that's right. So, alright. Yeah, every time I'm... Okay, now I have to get my mind back on track. Alright, so I think I'm going to do that. We're going to kind of bypass the whole GitHub release thing. I don't know, maybe I'll come back to that at some point. But really, for most of my libraries, the release is really on NuGet. You know, when it hits NuGet, that's the release. And finding a specific release in the source, I don't think would be that helpful. The only thing that really prevents is if someone was looking for the source code for a specific release. And all this new stuff uses source indexing, so you can just step into it in the debugger and it'll step into the right version of the source code. But it might not. But it's not as easy to find manually. Is what I'm thinking. But we'll try it. We'll try it. Maybe it'll change later. So in order to do that, what I want to do here is define a version up here, and maybe version prefix. And this is going to be, I don't even know what version I'm on, sorry. For dependency injection, I'm at 100 pre-04. With no dash between the pre and the 04. I'm not really consistent with that. Alright. Now this is the kind of pattern that I was following here, where I've got like a development version, so you can set a specific version during development and then automatically tag it with dev if you're running locally, and if there's no tags starting with V, right? So it's, you know, a little bit wonky, and this is why I want to change this. The whole tag starting with V and the special logic, wild about it. So what I'm thinking here is, instead of taking the version from the tag, I'm just always going to take the version from version prefix, and then I'm going to only define version, is it suffix? I think so. And I'm going to define that anytime we're running locally. So we're going to build locally. We're not on GitHub. There's no GitHub ref. I should change this to CI. So when we're not running in a continuous integration environment, i.e. locally, then we're going to stick this -dev suffix onto the version, just to make sure that I never have a local build that I think is real. Alright, so let's pop open our... what isn't working here? Karnak failed me. For some reason. Alright, that should work better. So let's see where we're at. Oh, actually I want to pack, don't I? Oh. I'm using .NET Core Preview on this project only because I am testing it to make sure it works with the .NET 5 preview. I normally don't explicitly include .NET 5. Okay, so that came out with pre-04 -- dev. So I must not have a quite oh, it's dev version. which is nothing. And suffix dash dev, is it adding an extra dev, or an extra dash because it's a version suffix? Probably. Okay. So a version suffix itself must imply that it is a preview version. Anything with a dash yeah, that looks good. Anything with a dash in semantic versioning is preview version. So, all right. So I guess the version suffix is actually adding a dash for us. So I'm just going to stick on that dev so that anytime I build locally, I always end up with a package that ends with dash dev. I like that. And in the meantime, this is going to be the new version. And I'm just going to move that to the top of the file just so that when I come in here to push out a new version, it's right there. This is the thing that you change. All right. And I don't think anything needs to change in the build script for that. Let me look through this real quickly. So the build script is a workflow, GitHub Action workflow. I have to run on Windows. Why did I have to run on Windows? Oh yes, because I'm targeting .NET Framework, which is unfortunate. You know, there's something I just found about a week ago that lets you target .NET Framework while compiling on Linux. Maybe we can get that working first. I would like to do that. Linux builds on GitHub Actions and pretty much every continuous integration provider are much faster than Windows builds. This is just a little debugging thing that I stick in all my GitHub Actions because, especially when you're first learning it, it's just so easy to see like all the variables that you have available to you. There's nothing that really documents that completely. Well, I guess there is, but it's hard. It's difficult documentation to work through. It's easier to just see it in every build. And then the GitHub, and then the caching for NuGet stuff. That's all caching the NuGet packages so they don't have to be pulled in every single time. This is just optimization here, optimizing the build. And then build, test, and pack. Pretty straightforward. And then this step here uploads the artifacts to that specific workflow build in GitHub Actions. And then I actually publish to NuGet, and this is the one that I want to change. This is doing something specific with the version tag. I just want to remove this, and I think that there is a flag. I'm pretty sure that there's a flag. There did not used to be, and it was annoying. Pretty sure that there's a flag to say don't, or ignore, yeah, skip duplicate. Here we go. That's what I want, right there. When pushing multiple packages, treating any conflicts as a warning so that the push can continue. I think that would work. So I'm going to grab this flag, stick it in my workflow. I've never actually used this flag before, but we shall see. It's funny that it seems to me that that should be plural, skip duplicates, but it's skip duplicate. Okay. So it pushes the packages up. It should skip any duplicates if they're already versioned. So when I actually push this change, which I think I'm developing directly on master, nothing like cowboy coding here, right? So I'm going to push this straight to master, and we'll see how it goes. All right. Double check this. Always take version from directory build props. Finding that I can't easily type and speak at the same time. Let's go ahead and push this out and just see what happens. If you haven't used GitHub Actions yet, they're awesome. They're still in the early stages, so they're a little bit rough around the edges. I find I can't always do everything I want to do, but they are nice, really nice, and they're free for open source. I just went to the Actions tab in my repository, and now I can see it's already building. And this is still a Windows build, so this will take a little while. Well, it actually started pretty quickly. And this is the... Oh, I can't expand that. Let me try to refresh here. Yeah, now I can expand it. A little bit wonky. So this is what that dump context is doing. It's just showing you all the things that you have available to you, all the data that the GitHub action is providing to your action, and you can pull any of this out. Let's close that out. So now it's building. In the meantime, I'm going to see if I can look up that thing. If I can remember what it's called. Oh boy. There's like a, it's a NuGet package for doing, for targeting .NET Framework, like a reference DLLs. And it just, yeah, here we go. It just got out of preview. Like this blog post is from like half a year ago, but I think it just released out of preview and is now officially available. Well, actually, I guess 6 months ago. Wow, okay. So yes, by referencing this NuGet package, I should be able to build on Unix. I'm going to try that. I'm going to look through this blog post and see if I can get it working after this build finishes. Windows build. Kind of slow. Alright, there we go. So let's see here. You got the multi-targeting, yes. And the reason for this is anytime you target Net Standard 2.0, it's usually nice to also target Net 4.6.1 because Net 4.6.1 says it supports Net Standard 2.0, but it actually doesn't. So because of this weird historical quirk, most libraries end up having to multi-target even though we have Net Standard. Not ideal, but you know, life is what it is. Let's see, how do you do that? You got the multi-targeting, and then you add this reference with private assets all. Yeah, you would want private assets all. That prevents anything downstream from picking up that as a dependency. And that's it. Oh, hey. Boy, that's easy. All right. And then all the rest of it is like, hey, how is this actually working? Cool. Well, that should be very easy then. I will definitely give that a shot. So this now has a little check mark. It built correctly. You can also run this off of, if you run GitHub Actions off of a pull request, then you'll get the nice little check, yes, this built and published and everything. And I wanted to double check the publish because that did change. So it's pushing, it's got a conflict. So it says, so it didn't actually push any updates. Well, that's interesting because it says, oh, that is interesting. These ones already exist. It looks like the symbol packages are still updated. I wonder if that's a bug in NuGet.org. Because I would think that those would also be conflicts and refuse packaging. Maybe they allow updating symbol packages, though. I don't know. That is curious, though. Because now my symbol packages are technically from a different build from my regular packages, which is not ideal. I'm going to bring that up on to the NuGet team and see if that is desired behavior or not. But alright, so that worked pretty well. So I've got, yeah, now I've got a great, better versioning story here. And now I'm going to try running this on Ubuntu, and let's stick in that package. Yeah. And I'm going to stick it in my directory build. Oops, wrong project, sorry. I'm going to stick it in my directory build props because I'm going to want it for. Am I going to want it for everything? Pretty much everything, at least in this little project. Would it affect the meta package? That's a good question. I don't know. So that one's multi-targeting. This one's multi-targeting. That one is also, the meta package is multi-targeting too. So yeah, I think I'm going to want that. This is just an empty directory. I think it's a leftover. Alright. So I'm going to jump in here and say directory build props then, and stick it in here. Now I've got... So this is my directory build props here that I've developed is kind of from my... I've got a checklist for open source projects somewhere. I've got way too many you get to see all my repositories now, and the many repositories that I have here. And this one's, oh, I think it's under docs. Yeah. So here's my open source software C# project checklist, and there is, I think, way too many things that really should be default behavior that aren't default behavior, which is unfortunate, but a fact of life when a company like Microsoft is primarily focused on backwards compatibility, and that's what it is really. So I'm just going to create a new section here and call this Linux builds targeting Windows. Well, full framework technically. And this has to be in an item group, of course. Yeah, that was beautiful. It's because Visual Studio Code, and I don't know why, it insists on going to 4 spaces, even when I have everything set to 2 spaces. Don't know. Can't figure that one out. It's very annoying. I have to fix it regularly. Alright. Let's take a look at that. Now I should be building on Ubuntu. We'll see if that works. With the new reference assemblies NuGet package. New, like 6 months ago that I just figured out, or I just found it last week. Build on Linux. See if that works. And if this works, then we should have a good template with this project that I can then use to bring all my the builds of all my other projects much more up to date. So let's jump over here to my actions.
What is that?
Building on Linux. And it's, see how fast this one is. It'd be interesting just to compare these side-by-side build times. So let's see. Done with this. We did all that. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, there is no YouTube link. Apparently, from what I understand, they're way backlogged on enabling live stream on accounts, because apparently over the last 2 months or so, a lot of people have wanted to start live streaming. So their usual 24-hour window has extended into, I think a week it was normal about a month ago, and I don't know how long I've been waiting, but it's been longer than a week. And yeah, that's just how it is. Oh, build failed. Okay, let's see what happened here. Reference assemblies for version 4.6.1 were not found. Interesting. I wonder if I cannot do 4.6.1. Maybe I closed those tabs a little too soon. Yeah. What is he using? He's using 4.6.1 with the reference assemblies. How does it work? Okay, so that should have 4.6.1 reference assemblies. Should be there. Curious. Did the package reference not get picked up somehow? I wouldn't think so. It's in an item group without a qualifier, without a condition. Well, this is the part of the stream where I go, I do not know what is happening. Alright, so this is my first time ever trying to use this. Anything useful at the product site? Yes. A lot of times the project site just goes to like ASP.NET. That's not useful. Okay, build without requiring... Build libraries on any operating system supported by the .NET Core SDK. That's what we want. So they enable target reference. See, when they have package reference, they just have these private assets all, and they don't have anything more complex beneath that. What is that doing here? Including build content. So I wonder what would happen if I just deleted that. And here's my wonderful commit message. Guess. This is my guess. Or we need a better commit message than that. Attempt to fix build. This is the one bad thing about using a CI provider is sometimes your commit messages end up being like, let's see if this works. Because you can't actually replicate the CI environment completely when running locally. Alright. Build. Do we need an output type of exe? No. Can't possibly do that. Target framework and a package reference. There it is. Okay. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. Let's look at the next build here. Follow that through. Okay. So it should be pulling all that in. Target framework identifier, target framework version. Yeah. Those should be getting set during the build. Interesting and a little frustrating. I wonder what happens if I built it locally now. Of course, I'm not running on Linux. I guess I could be. The build succeeds on Windows. It's probably the next step in getting this going is to try to build it on Linux on Windows, which is fun if you've never used it. No, it's still not working. How very odd. We're not using a preview build. Well, let's see. Alright, let's run Ubuntu then. I don't think I even have .NET Core installed here. Maybe I do. No, I do not. I don't even know how to install .NET Core on Ubuntu, so brand new to me here. Let's just see if this works. Alright. We're going to want .NET Core 3.1, but not for Windows. We want it for Linux. Yes. That's... Really? Oh, okay. Sure. I will just copy these random instructions on the internet without verifying them. Password for Steven. I don't know. Is this my Windows password? Maybe. Oops. Wait, that's not right. Okay. Maybe I don't know my own password. There we go. Okay. It's actually an older password. Okay. got that one in. Okay, install the .NET Core SDK. Let's just copy and paste this stuff. Since I don't even know what I'm doing. Apt-get the package manager. Windows got a package manager recently. Should say they're getting one. Or according to some people, stolen one. Which is an interesting debate. Kind of unfortunate. Okay. So it is pulling in some stuff. This all looks like app transport HTTPS. That's fine. But didn't do these other commands here. So we'll do another update, and then we're going to install .NET SDK 3.1, which is what we actually need. Sure. I didn't even read the message. That shows how trusting I am. Alright, now we should have .NET running in Ubuntu on Windows, which is kind of crazy inception-wise. Once it finishes unpacking. Building all the manual pages, is that what you're doing for me? Alright, .NET. Yes, we are in. Now I just have to figure out how to get to my directory. Usually there's like a mount, maybe? Is there a C in here? There's not. What is this? Oh, it's lowercase c, of course. CDC. CDC, haha. And then where's my stuff? Under work. I'm under another work directory right now. Nope, no I'm not, sorry. I'm under dependency injection. And here's where I should be, and I should be able to build in this directory. .NET build. See if this works. And if not, if we can get a better error message. Blah. Okay. Apparently I need the newer one. Alright. Core SDK 3.1. I think I need the newer version because I forgot this one's using some .NET Core 5 stuff. Yeah, so that one has preview instructions here. Snap. I don't know what snap is. Let's see if it's in here. Snap is in here. Alright. We will do snap then. This will... Ha! I guess snap is not working. Alright. So, never mind. In that case, we will do... Oh, you have to download the install script. Well, isn't that fun? Well, this is really getting more into the weeds than I wanted to, just to get a Linux build working. I'm curious to know why it isn't working. So, alright, we'll do that. And we'll do this. And my Karnak died again. Why this thing is not staying living. Okay, that one should install now the preview 4 of .NET K, or .NET Core. Version... There's only one. Alright. Something did not work right here. Alright, well, I've gone far enough down this rabbit hole, cutting it off. So, sorry, you guys don't work. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to revert that. I could revert the commit, but I'll just make a new commit instead. And we're going to switch back to Windows. Because what I want to do in the remainder of this hour or so that I have is actually upgrade the build system for my other projects. That's what I want to do. So, looks like, oh, this is interesting. And what branch is this? What? I have a net standard branch? Really? Maybe I don't remember what I was doing in this repository. I definitely don't remember what I was doing in this repository. Alright, let's clean this up here. Where are we at? Got some changes coming in. A simple waiter. What is this thing? I don't even remember. Boy, it's been months since I've been in here. So I'm just going to say this. Let's just push everything and take a look at what's incoming and outgoing here, because I don't know what's going on here. Standard 2.1 looks like I've got stuff from a year ago that I've never synced up here. Wow, this is way more out of date than I thought, but it looks like everything I have is equivalent to what's on there. So I'm going to blow away that branch with my local stuff, and I'm just going to call this work in progress since I don't even know what it is. Push it up there. I'm on some other branch anyway. It doesn't really matter. Alright. Let's go to master. And this is where I want to update my build. Update my build on the master branch, and we'll clean up that other branch later. Okay. This one should have succeeded in the meantime. Still running. Okay. Just about done. Alright. So what I want to do is create, I don't know if I have any repository secrets here. I don't think so. I do not. Okay. Actions, if you're using actions, you usually end up using repository secrets as well. Hi.
Ooh, goody.
So, let's see. I want to, let's start with, I'm going to start copying over with the directory build props. And this one is right, the source directory, and I like that setup. So I'm going to do that. I've got like nested directory build props here, which I don't really like. So I'm going to say, the one, this is the only awkward part about nested directory build props, is you have to explicitly include the upper one. Okay. I'm going to, actually what I'm going to do is copy out just the guts of this thing.
Look at my shirt.
Merge this in here manually.
Look at my pajama shirt.
You've got dinosaurs on your pajama shirt. Alright, so all of this stuff is going to be included further down. Include authors. This stuff automatically gets picked up these days. I don't even need to do any of this. The icons are handled a little differently. And this stuff is also all automatic in the new project, and so is this. Alright, so that's interesting because I didn't see any descriptions in there. I must have separate descriptions on each of these projects is probably what I did. Yeah, so I've got like a separate description and tags for each of these. I'm just going to delete those. And language version latest.
A computer.
I see your hand. Alright, and what version are we on with disposables? I don't remember that either. Where are we at? 201. Alright. Let me punch that in.
I think I'll get dressed.
Okay.
In here.
No, you should get dressed in your own room. Alright. Don't actually need that since everything is using the default namespaces. And that should be it. Do we need the newest language version in the test projects? If we do, I think I'm going to do that separately. So I'm actually going to rip out this nested directory build thing. I think it's just a little bit too awkward. And then the only thing we have left to do is that icon. So this assumes that I have an icon named icon PNG, which is pretty close enough. Yeah, I think I'm just going to rename that file. And it is, in my other project, it's under the source directory, isn't it? It is under source. Source icon. So that's fine. I can do that. I'm just trying to think of like making all of my different projects have similar structures and file layouts and all that stuff. It's just one less thing to change everywhere. And keep in mind. So with that, we no longer have icon URL, which is an old property anyway. The new system, this is actually embedding the icon in the NuGet package, which is what they recommend these days. Okay, so that actually looks pretty good. I'll blow away this old directory build props with the old version number. This directory build props only includes code coverage, which I haven't actually enabled on my newer builds yet. That's a problem for another day. So at this point, oh, I know what else I wanted to do. I want to search for icon 128. Yeah, and there it is. This gets, oops, source icon. So now, don't break the README when I move the icon. Alright. That I think should be just about everything I need to really make this a much newer build. Let's see how this reacts to the new settings. I also enable a lot of warnings, nullable types. Oh, nullable types is not going to work very well, is it? Because I haven't done any of that work yet. Should probably clean that up. Let me see what it looks like without nullable first, real quick. Oops. Ah. Get out of here, you links. No. Still not. Oh, it's because I've got all these things that are, hey, you need to dispose this stuff. Oh, blah. That's like completely, really, I don't think so. fxcomp is a little bit too it's a little bit too opinionated, and specifically with this one. They're just completely wrong. So I've got an editor config here, which I'm just going to copy over here, and yeah, I have to just keep a note of what I'm disabling here. This diagnostic is just completely wrong. Alright, let's rebuild that there. Oh, alright. Alright, this fxcap is really pretty opinionated. And the thing is, I want that type nested. Well, you'd have to ask Mommy about that one. I like my visible nested types. So let's disable that one too. Goodbye. Warning. I've got warnings as errors. So every single fxcop violation is like, you can't build this. Called suppress finalize. Well, that one might actually be a real one. Let me pull this up in Visual Studio. And it's not going to be in my recent projects list for sure. Endless stuff on here. Alright. And where am I? Disposables. It's been way too long since I've been in this this project. And it opened the folder instead of the solution. That's interesting. Or did it? No, it didn't. I just thought it did. Okay. Disposables. Let's just build in VS and fix up these errors in here. It's a little bit of a nicer experience. Oops. All right. Yeah. This is something that I'm not a huge person doing well for this. You're really supposed to do this. I really don't a lot of the time. But fxcop will catch a lot of these. I'll do a more thorough review of this sometime. Because fxcop for some reason only triggers on some of those. It doesn't catch all of them. I don't know what the difference is. Alright, so we've got a manual reset event slim that is not disposed. Good call. Alright. Set. It is... Yeah, the question is, can we safely dispose this actually? And this one I'm not sure. Because we're using the MRE, the manual reset event, as a signal so that other things can block waiting for this thing to dispose. But if it's already disposed, then they can't block. So in that case, the context is going to be null, but they still need the manual reset event around in order to wait on it. So the only way that this thing is ever actually safe to dispose is if all things have already called dispose. And there's no way to know that. So I think that this one's just a nature of the beast. Normally you would not want to suppress this warning, but in this case we have to. because this thing has to outlast the lifetime of this. Yeah. So that was unfortunate, but back to life. Alright. I never remember how to disable one of these things in source. Suppress in source. There, that's easy. Okay. Yeah. Now these other ones are all calling warning about call to GC suppress finalize. This will prevent derived types that introduce a finalizer from needing to re-implement idisposable to call it. So that's true, but yeah. So comment from the chat. Yeah, the warnings make you think about it. That's true. Yeah, they're fine to suppress. Some of them I suppress all the time, like implement idisposable correctly, because I just disagree with it. But yeah, you warnings do make you think, and that's good. So in this case, they're saying, hey, if any derived type introduces a finalizer, yes, but no derived type should ever implement a finalizer, like ever. That should be a hard and fast rule. I've got a series of blog posts about that from probably over a decade ago that go into that and all the reasons behind that. Essentially, yeah, a little over a decade ago. Good call. Too bad my blog doesn't have a dark theme. Right, so this here, essentially rule 3, so what I say is, this has always been my advice, and this is the advice, these are rules that Microsoft follows in their internal code, but they publish like the framework design guidelines and all that stuff with all these really complicated idisposable rules that they, officially support, but like even their own internal code doesn't do that. It's just too complicated. So anything with a finalizer essentially should only be concerned with owning that unmanaged resource and nothing else, literally nothing else. It should not be derived from anything else. It should have nothing derived from it. It's literally just a type that manages that resource. So, and if you're doing it, if you're using finalizers with any kind of inheritance, you're asking for a world of pain anyway. So I'm thinking I'm just going to disable this. I mean, I could add those calls, but I just don't see the benefit. So I'm also going to disable this one.
My name is Eden.
Your name is Eden. Yes, it is.
I said it to them.
Oh, you said it to them? You said it to the people who are watching us? Okay.
Well.
Alright then. I'm just going to turn that completely off for this project, and at this point we should be able to build. Yay! Now, I do want to re-enable nullable types. Now this is fun because nullable types are kind of new. Baby. And really none of my libraries support nullable types yet, and it's something that's really important for library authors to do. I have just been neglectful in getting it done. So let's see how many errors we have with nullable types now. The benefit of doing it in libraries is that then your downstream consumers can actually properly do it. You can always adopt nullable types. I think that the way that the Microsoft teams did this was pretty smart. So you can always adopt it. But if the library you're using wasn't built with nullable type awareness, then you just don't get any help from that library. You don't know, it allows you to pass nulls into the library. When you get things back from the library, you never know if they're null or not. So I just turned it on completely for this project, and let's see what happens. When you just turn it on like that, it kind of assumes that everything is never nullable. Now in this case, I have a field that can be nullable. And that name is wrong anyway. It should be underscore field. That's just my convention. And this should be nullable. Yes, because oops, found action should be nullable. This is a specific type here that allows this like atomic read the current value and also unset it behavior. And why is this still failing? So field can be null, yes. This one it's still complaining about. Sometimes, although I'm actually running resharper, and resharper I think is not quite. Oh, it's a possible null reference return. Yes, because it can be null there. Yes, exactly. So that try, get, and reset can actually return null. And yeah, I actually, before nullable types, I had it in my XML docs comments here. So really? That built with nullable types that quickly? I've never had anything go that quickly. What is this? Oh, that's standard 2.1. Boy. This is, oh right, because of the async disposables. That's what that branch was for. I must have released up that branch. Interesting. I'm going to have to fix that mess in a bit. Alright, I'm just going to do a quick look through here. Context may possibly be null. Yeah, some of these are still not right as far as the nullable types go. I'm just going to look in here. Got the bound action. The field can be null. The action can never be null. Context could possibly be null, I guess. Nullable types with generics are still kind of weird. This can never be null. Okay, so this all looks correct, except that this can be null. Right? Can it be null? Let's see here. Actually, I don't think it would ever be null. Okay. And then that's the same thing for asynchronous world. That can be null. I'm just going to change it without compiler help. Anonymous disposable. Right. Would it be... It tries to update the context. This is never going to be null. And then call dispose. Okay. That's fine. That we explicitly want to allow this to be null. And these are the things that the nullable type checking won't catch. You gotta think through it first. So this can also be null, which means that the base type can be null. I should fix the base type first, actually. It's got a context. It's got this. This is never null. Context is also never null. But this, oh, that's such confusing wording. This context can be null. This underscore context cannot. And the context updater should not be null. Right. This one I'm going to say can be null. Is it can be null or maybe null? I don't know. It may be null. Maybe null. null, or can be null. Apparently I don't remember any of this stuff. And the compiler's not helping me here because I'm on .NET Standard 1.0, and I don't know if they ever even supported nullable types on that, so I know there's types for this. What is this? Attribute. Allow null. Okay, of course. Which isn't found. Really? Okay. I thought it was you had to use attributes for things like that with generics. Yeah. Oh, that. Not gonna do that. Okay. There's other ways around this. Instead of making this work properly for the generics, so in my derived type, I can say, you can actually say, hey, this can be null, and when you pass it to the base type, say, it's not null. So there are ways around the nullability type checking like that, where the base type's going to insist that it can't be null, just because I can't figure out how to tell it that it can be null. There's got to be a way to do that. Generics and attributes, right? I'm positive that I saw that before. I'm going to look at this just a little bit more here. No forgiving operator and blah, blah, blah. Alright, fine. These are too introductory. Don't. Oh, that's reference types is what I want. Alright. I cannot seem to find. Oh, here we go. Nullable attributes. Not null, maybe null, yes. So, here we go. These are under System Diagnostics Code Analysis, which is in System.Runtime. That's interesting. So, does it not exist for... Yeah, it's .NET Standard 2.1, .NET Core 3.0 and higher. So you can't even put these attributes on unless you're targeting those. That would be really annoying if that was the case. Because I cannot drop my downstream consumers, right? I can't say, hey, this is .NET Core 3.0 only. You know, that's just not an option for most of my libraries. So I think what I'm going to have to end up doing is just saying this maybe null. This context goes into the bound action field. When I pull the context out of that, it may be null. This may be null. Yeah. The bound action here, it takes this this action and binds it to a specific value. And I'm just going to document this as maybe null and say you cannot like that. Anyone enabling nullable types will get a warning, just like I did with this derived type if they're also deriving from this. Most people don't. Most people don't derive from that. So I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But essentially, hey, this can be null, but I'm going to lie and tell this one that it's not null because generics don't really work well with nullable types if you're multi-targeting downstream targets, which we are. We've got .NET 4.6.1, we've got .NET Standard 1.0, .NET Standard 2.0, none of which work with the new nullable attributes. And I could add the nullable attributes, but I would have to use if-defs and stuff, and it isn't worth it at that point. I don't know. I might do that later. Okay, so the rest of this one looks nullable proper. That's just oh, this is all just async stuff, which isn't enabled yet. Collections. So this should not be null. It's forced to not be null. That's fine. Also not null. Also not null. Can't be null. Can't be null. See, this is the interesting thing. FXCop is like, you have to check this, make sure it's not null. Even though, no, we've got nullable types on. It really shouldn't be null. Okay, that's fine. And those also are not null. Okay, that looks all good. This one is in the future. This one, I really should. That's right, because I released async disposables, but only as a preview. I remember now. That's why it's on a separate branch. Oops. So if I jump over to GitHub here, I should really release that, because there's no reason why it's still in pre-release. Yeah. Oops. That should have been released proper 6 months ago. Oh well. Better late than never, I guess. Totally forgot about it, to be honest. Alright, so this one's never null. That all looks good. And then that's async. Fix the async ones in a little bit. Now the non-blocking one. Same thing. We've got this context that this can be null. But, don't really care. Because when it comes out of here, we are checking it for nullability. Just skipping it if it's null. Alright, that all looks good. Alright, we're in a pretty good state then. We can build. I've turned on nullability, all my checks and everything. I'm going to copy over this other thing, and I'm not going to stay on too much longer. But I just want to copy over this build script and see if we can get this thing working. Over here in my workflows. Workflows? Plural or yes, okay, it is plural. And then there's a build YAML file of YAML files. Just gonna look real quickly through here. Anytime a pull request is open or any code is pushed, I always set this to true. GitHub Actions does not, actually. Well, I think they might now. I think they just changed that. But I still set it to true on all my actions anyway. And then I opt out of the telemetry. Gonna build on Windows, have to because of the Net461 target, same problem we had before. Dumping stuff, caching, that should all be pretty much the same. Checking out the code, yeah. And then build, test, and pack. Yeah, that actually should be it. This one's actually pretty straightforward. I'm going to delete this appfair file, which was essentially doing the same thing done at pack and done at test plus code coverage, which I'm not doing with the new build, and then publish these as artifacts. My new build is essentially doing the same thing, but with these upload artifacts with GitHub Actions instead of appfair now. And then publish. Now this publish is going to fail because I haven't set up this secret yet, but that's fine. I don't really want to publish a package yet anyway. Just delete that appfair file, and yeah, let's give it a shot here. Use new build system. And as per my usual cowboy coding system, I'm just going to shove it straight onto master, because I can do that. So, in a moment here, we should have a new action coming up. A brand new one. And there it is. Let's watch this and see what happens. Dumping that context. I just stick this in all my GitHub Actions now. Because whenever you're debugging a GitHub action, you're like, what is the context here? What is my ref set to? Yeah. It's just easier to always have it there. Commit messages on master should be, you only live once. Nice. Yeah, on my first, I've got the most complicated GitHub action I've ever done is, it like builds the front end, it builds the back end, and then it deploys the front end to like, to surge.sh, and it deploys the back end to Azure, so it actually like deploys the whole back end infrastructure, and then pulls down all the Azure functions, publishing, and publishes all the Azure functions and all that stuff in it. So it's like a one-step deploy everything workflow, all in one workflow. And man, the commit messages on that are like, gonna try to get this working. Okay, maybe this will work. There's at least 20 or 30 of those in there, just because the workflow took quite a while to figure everything out. This one's a pretty straightforward workflow. I do the caching. Yes, so Azure DevOps. I've never actually used Azure DevOps. Before GitHub Actions, I was a big AppFire fan. That's where like all my stuff lived. All right, what happened here? Missing value for option API key. Okay, that's totally understandable, because I didn't actually set up that repository secret yet. But it actually uploaded the artifacts and everything. So now we've got these little artifacts here, and I can download the NuGet packages to verify that that works. And actually I'm going to do that, I think, real quickly. So even if I come back to actions here, I don't know if I can get them from here. No. So maybe the build action. No. Eventually I'm going to stick a status badge on my README and everything, so it works just like any other CI system. But before I do all that, in my build workflow, I'm going to download this artifact, just make sure it all came out okay. You can see I've done this a few times before. So let me pop this out. Pardon the mess. I'm going to create a new folder here. And soon stick all this stuff in there. So here's the output from my builds. I've got a NuGet package and a symbols package, and I have installed the NuGet package explorer. And this has some really nice checks in it. Like, it will double check that you've done your source link setup. You've got a deterministic build. For me, that directory build props file is handling all that. But it'll show you everything in here and say, yep, okay, it'll give you warnings like, oh, your license URL is pointing to, or your licensing for the package is pointing to a URL. Use an expression instead. Or, hey, you've got some DLLs in here that don't have symbols set up correctly. But this valid with symbol server means that consumers of the package can just step into it, and it will actually step into this specific commit on GitHub and like download the source that was actually used to build that specific version of the package that they're running. So that's really cool. One of those long list of things in the checklist of here's how you do things. That C# libraries checklist that I had on the screen earlier. Yeah, so I've got the icon in there. All the DLL and XML files are there for the IntelliSense. Yeah, looks good. All right, and the symbols package worked. That's all been verified. So yeah, all I really need to do is stick the API key on here and publish this. I will probably do that a little later today, but for now, I think I'm going to wrap up this stream, call it good, and thanks for hopping on. Thanks for spending some time with me Saturday morning, and I'll see you next time. Type in here, thanks for coming, everyone.